So, Heritage.org reported that with the averages, only 11% of all people who enlisted across the services are they come from low-income families, with 24% coming from like really high, mid to high-income families. Of that, the United States Army's ROTC also reports that 24% of all enrollees are actually, they come from very high-class families. United States servicemen and women are more educated than their peers, with only 1% going into service without a high school diploma or equivalent. And that is in comparison with the general population's 21% of American men ages 18 to 24. Homelessness is a very big issue with our society. Why veteran homelessness should concern you is the fact that a lot of veterans are actually people who made a judgment call out of pride and duty to serve their country during times of war, and they didn't do so out of desperation. I am a veteran myself, having served in the Marine Corps, and I've experienced the troubles, the difficulties of acclimatizing to the real world or civilian culture. I've also felt the isolation you first experience when you're cut off from service, because really you go from one lifestyle, and in the course of a week you're living in another. I will be talking about veteran homelessness by talking about the issue in itself, the causes of the issue, and several solutions that the government has come up to alleviate the problem. Veteran homelessness is a very big issue in itself. According to the Department of Veterans Affairs, on a single night in January 2014, more than 29,000 displaced individuals or veterans. This number does not account for the families that were displaced with them. With people who are in financial difficulties or who are experiencing displacement, they tend to turn to acts of desperation, given the limited options they have to alleviate themselves. As such, they turn to crime. According to the Department of Justice, in 2004, an estimated 1,400 people who were incarcerated in prisons all over the country were veterans. 57% of that population were incarcerated for violent offenses. People pretty much turn to crime because of poverty. And when you have like a population of highly trained individuals who are pretty much trained to do violent things to other people, then you're just asking for something. Now that you know a bit about the issue of homelessness itself, I'll be talking about the causes. Homelessness stems from a lot of major factors. However, there's two that is key among them. First are personal difficulties, whether it be finance or lack of employment. Veterans, often when they transit into civilian culture, they're pretty much by themselves. There's a very big gap that they need to cross in order to become acclimatized. Because of this, they're like getting employment, getting social welfare, they're issues that they've never had to face before. So they tend to get dug into a hole, and it takes a while for them to actually come out of. Another very big issue with homelessness is mental illness induced to post-traumatic experiences. uh, servicemen and women go through traumatic experiences. It's just the nature of the business. Violence doesn't. How do you say it? Violence doesn't judge you whether you're male or female, or whether how dark you are or how light you are. Violence is it's not racist, pretty much. It affects people equally. As such, people who go through war and they come back, they have things. it isn't even just combat. It isn't just combat stress. There's also when you're doing support operations, you get to see things or experience things that normally you pretty much stay away from. And because of the trauma that they've experienced, they come into the civilian world with that kind of disability. And as you pretty much all know, the government, both state and federal, have discontinued discontinued the support of mental health facilities. So you often have prior servicemen who come out who do not trust the government, or not acclimatized to civilian culture, who don't trust their neighbors in general. They're unable to get help, pretty much. And because of that, they just naturally transition with unemployment, lack of welfare, that just naturally transition into homelessness. But it's not all like fire and brimstone. The government has actually started a very large initiative to try to reduce the number of veteran homelessness. First, with the improvement of outreach programs like for the VA, we have the number of homeless people in 2012 was actually reduced to a bit over 28,000. This may seem like it's a really big number when you compare it to the general population of homeless people, of veterans, which was 68,000. It's a third of that number, but it is a massive improvement, because like in 2008 that number was actually 32,200. They cut off a third of it. Another initiative by the VA was started to help state and local programs to pretty much reach out to the veterans themselves. One such example is a housing program that was funded by the VA, the government, pretty much, to help alleviate the number a bit over 10,000 homeless veterans. Because of the success of that program, the VA furthered its support by investing $300 million into outreach programs like these. Then there's also the really local programs investing into the veterans themselves. Programs like the Homeless Veterans Apprenticeship Program, which helps train veterans with trade. Now that I've talked about the issue of veteran homelessness, its causes, and a couple of its solutions, I'd like to leave you with this. Help support your state's programs to alleviate homeless veterans. And the next time you see a homeless veteran out on the streets, don't judge him by his situation. Instead, look past and see the person that he is. Thank you.